This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Topo Designs TopoLite hip pack, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. If you find this video helpful, make sure you subscribe so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So the main pack material on this thing is a 40D recycled nylon. It's super thin, super lightweight, which is good because this is a packable sling and it packs down into almost like no space at all, which we'll get into. But durability concerns have arisen. I mean, it hasn't showed any issues yet, which is awesome. But when you're traveling with something, it's bound to get a few bumps and knocks, and that worries us long term with such a thin material. But as I said, no issues so far. It also does have a silicone water resistant coating, which works surprisingly well, especially for what a low denier this fabric is. We got caught in a light rain a few times and it didn't immediately soak through. If it does start raining, you obviously probably want to head for cover or try and not get it soaked because it is such a thin fabric. But if you get caught in the rain, it's not like the end of the world right away, which is awesome. So we've got YKK zippers throughout the pack. We've got one inside as well, which we will show you later. But we've got 2 on this main compartment, so you can open it from either side, or you could like leave them in the middle or something if you wanted to, which is nice to see. Got these paracord-like pulls here that match this cord, which we'll also get into. And then we've got this buckle here from Woojin. It seems a bit big for the size of the strap, but it stays out of the way. It's pretty flat, low profile, and it doesn't come undone when you don't want it to, which is the biggest thing, obviously, for a buckle like that. We also have Woojin on these little adjusters here. So this is a micro cord that runs around the outside of the pack, and it kind of reminds me of like a football, like the strings on a football. But you're supposed to be able to attach different gear to this, like if you wanted to attach a collapsible water bottle or use a carabiner to attach something else. And it's an awesome idea in like theory, but we find ourselves not really using it very much because of how lightweight this pack is. And it kind of, if you don't have a bunch of stuff in here, it kind of like drags the pack down, as you can see it's trying to do right now in different places on the pack. But it does look kind of neat, and I think it gives it a unique look, and a few of the other TopoLite offerings from Topo Designs have this same kind of design. And again, in theory, it seems like a good idea, but in practice, we didn't use it so much. But if you have a way that you used it that you really like, or you know what you use it for, let us know in the comments, because I would love to hear that. But overall, this thing is extraordinarily light, and we are a bit worried durability-wise, but we haven't had any issues yet, which is a bit surprising. But we will update the usage timeline if anything does arise. So when it comes to the harness system, lightweight is the name of the game once more. The back panel is pretty much non-existent. It's just the same material you see throughout the rest of the pack. So whatever you have stowed inside of here kind of becomes the back panel. If you have something flat, that's awesome. It works well. But if you have something more oblong, like if you were to throw like an apple in here or a snack like that, it's going to kind of poke you a little bit. And not super uncomfortable because you can't stow a ton of gear inside here, but you just can kind of feel it. And I think that that is worth noting. But moving on to the strap, you can see that this main pack here kind of connects via these hip huggers. They're a little bit wider than the rest of the strap, and it's pretty comfortable when you have it in hip pack mode, and it does help a little bit if you have it crossbody mode as well. The strap itself is pretty thin, and if you really, really pack this thing out, you can kind of feel this dig into you, especially if you just have like a t-shirt or a tank top on. But again, you can't fit a ton of gear inside of here, so it's never really that uncomfortable. And again, it's a packable sling, so you want it to be as light as possible to not take up space while you're going to or from your destination. So it's kind of one of those trade-offs. We do have strap keepers here to keep the straps organized, because there is, as you can see, quite a bit of excess strap going on right now. So it keeps those organized and not just kind of flailing around like that. So keeps it looking nice and just from annoying you and getting in your way, which is awesome. So right now I've got this thing in crossbody mode, and I don't know how well you can see it, but because I have 2 items in there, it's kind of almost like forming a hinge because there isn't any structure to help this thing like hold itself up. So if you do have like larger or heavier items inside here, and they can kind of just like compartmentalize themselves and be a little bit awkward to look at. It's not uncomfortable right now, but it just looks a little bit awkward and can't really hold itself up. But again, it's one of the drawbacks of such a packable sling. So I've got it in hip pack mode right now, and I think it does look a bit better in hip pack mode. If you do have like one heavy item and the rest of it's kind of empty, or it has lighter items, it can sag a little bit, but it's got kind of more surface area of your body to rest on. So I think that does help it look a bit better, and it's also still very comfortable. depending on what gear you have in there, it can poke you a little bit. And I did this time, I left one of the straps not in the strap keeper, so you can see how much excess strap there is. So obviously there's a bunch of leftover strap here, and then I've got the other one stuck in the strap keeper on this side. So when it comes to putting gear inside of this pack, we just have the main compartment, no other secondary compartments. And as I mentioned, we've got 2 zips, so we can open from either side, which is nice. So if you're left or right-handed, you can leave the zippers on the side that is closest to your dominant hand. But as we move inside here, you can see, as I said, I've got the Instax Mini inside here and my iPhone. So those are 2 very rigid items, so they kind of made wearing this thing a little bit awkward. If you were to put items that aren't so rigid in there, like if you had like a packable jacket and a hat and gloves, it would really fill out the sling a little bit better. It would look a lot better, and it would just pack a little bit better too. So I think that's important to note, but most of the time you aren't just gonna have those things. You're gonna maybe wanna put your phone, your keys, your wallet inside here, because this, as you can see, this material, it does not have any structure to it whatsoever at all. But this is all just main compartment. It's just really open play. It's obviously not really big enough to have much organization. We do have this one zippered pocket here. It kind of acts like a tongue. It flips in and out like this. And this is also the stuff sack. So my phone doesn't fit inside of here, so I mostly just kept my wallet inside of here. I've got the Chums Surf Shorts wallet. So a good place to lock something like that down. You could also throw a passport in here for a little bit extra security compared to the rest of the main compartment. So it's nice to be able to lock down those smaller items so they don't get lost in the rest of the main compartment. There are a few little like folds. So if you had like a little dongle, in theory, it could kind of like get stuck in there and then you'd be looking all over the place for it. So throwing it inside this zippered compartment makes the most sense. But I'll show you how to compress it now and how small it gets once you do that. So you have this zipper undone. As you can see, it's a reversible zipper. So you pack it kind of inside out like that. You can see the Topo Designs logo kind of coming into frame there. Then you just shove all this stuff inside of there. So this thing is not really, I mean, it's quite a bit smaller than the sling was, but it's not, I don't know, it's not that much smaller, but I think the big perk of the materials that they use is that you can really smush this thing. You can really kind of compress it down more. So the way that the buckle is in there right now is kind of awkward, so I'm trying to turn that around. But you can really compress this thing down even more. So if you like slide it in between things in your day pack, your travel backpack, or if you have rolling luggage, this thing really packs down small and you can slide it somewhere, like even in like a liner pocket. You like right like this, you wouldn't think, oh, liner pocket, but you could really, you know, slide it into a small liner pocket in a sling even. Like a sling inside of a sling, who would have thought? But you can really pack this thing down small, and even in this condition, it is pretty small. It's just, this isn't as small as I thought it would be from given the size of the sling and how lightweight the materials are, so it takes a little bit of manipulation to kind of compact it a little bit more. But overall, very happy with this thing for especially how small you can get it once you compact it. It doesn't have the structure that you'd expect from like an EDC sling or other slings that we've reviewed on this channel, but because it does pack down so small and it's so light, if you're really worried about being overweight on your bag when you're traveling, this is a great solution because it's just so light. Everything on this thing except for maybe the buckles are really light. So you're definitely not going to be, you know, like, oh, you wouldn't need to cut this out because it is so lightweight. And it does work to where, like, oh, like once you get to the airport, you can take it out of your bag and put everything you need for the flight, use that in the flight, and then put it back in your bag. And it's so light that you wouldn't even really be wasting that much weight by doing that. So I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll cut it off there. But overall, a very light sling, but you are kind of cutting out a few of the things that you'd be used to from a standard EDC sling. So there you have it, the Topo Designs TopoLite Hip Pack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.